Welcome to Ask the Lawyer radio podcast with attorney Brian Figueroa of the law firm Figueroa and Associates. This podcast features a recording of our most recent radio show. We hope you enjoy the show, which features news, views, and interviews on matters such as immigration, personal injury, bankruptcy, divorce, family law, estate planning, wills and probate, deed transfers, civil rights, criminal defense, workers' compensation, and taxes, both individual and business. You can contact us at 855-768-8845 or visit us at www.askthelawyer.us. You have questions? We've got the answers.
Good day, good day, good day. My name is Brian Figueroa of the law firm Figueroa and Associates. This is Ask the Lawyer. You got questions, we got answers. The number to call, the number to keep, the number to share is 855-768-8845. Again, 855-768-8845. Gun violence. Ooh. Violence in general. For over the last almost 3 decades, when we practice, law, personal injury law, gun violence law, victims of gun violence, when you meet with the families of the deceased or families of the injured, gun violence is nothing to mess with. When you hear and you read the news or you listen or you watch your TV, there's gun violence all over the world. In the Sudan, because of 2 warring factions right now, almost 1 million people are on the brink of starvation. And that's related to gun violence. It's a war. An army that split and now they fight each other. Gun violence, East New York, Bronxville, Kings County, the Crips, the Bloods, they are always at war. And war for what? War for a turf, war for extortion, war for drugs that kill more black people than anything else, brown people, white people. And a lot of times, unfortunately, we don't think about the victims that are hooked on drugs, whether it be weed, marijuana, whatever you call it, ganja, according to Peter Tosh. Yeah, some call it marijuana. Some of them call it ganja. Yeah. So, gun violence and drugs. But when people get hooked on these various psychedelic drugs, and you see mothers weeping for their daughters, their sons, their grandchildren, and obviously some of those drugs are tainted, so people lose their mental capacity. Who's going to take care of those new insane people in our communities? Well, we are almost, 30% of New York State budget deals with the medical issues facing New York State. So if we ignore gun violence, which is a disease in itself, that causes other diseases in itself, the economic cost to the community, to families, is overwhelming. Should we just build more prisons? How is the law enforced? People talk about, white people ain't gonna go to jail, but black people are gonna go to jail. Or brown people, they talk about racism in the judicial system, racism with the NYPD. So it's much more complicated than saying send people to jail, because everyone says, okay, well, you're going to send some black and brown folks. You got to send some of them white people too. And the way laws are enforced, whether it relates to gun violence, whether it relates to white collar crime, blue collar crime, people want to know, generally speaking, that all are treated the same. That one person doesn't go to prison for 30 years on a crime that another person, a white dude, doesn't do time or does 5 years. My name is Brian Figueroa of the law firm Figueroa & Associates. This is Ask the Lawyer. You got questions, we got answers. So the families of gun violence and all the issues just mentioned, they come to lawyers, they consult with attorneys. How many of them can we help? Most times, hey, you can't help most of them. You can't help all of them. You might help a few of them in terms of litigation and the family being rewarded, getting a high settlement for their loss. But that's not sufficient, and that's not going to change what's happening on the streets, what's happening on the subways, what is happening at homes. Is it the culture of gun violence on TV, at the movies, on your laptop, on your desktop? Are we just a violent society? And is it again a disease without a cure? Well, what's the cure? Is it we need to see a better distribution of wealth in society? Is it because the school system is failing? So, for example, does the fact that New York City, the most segregated school system in the country, is there a correlation between segregated schools and gun violence? Now, obviously, people who want schools to be desegregated will say, oh, yes, there is a correlation, and I'm one of those. I would like to see New York City public schools desegregated. Eric Adams, a black man with a whole host of ethical issues with his campaign, he believes that, the schools shouldn't be desegregated. But why? Who's his daddy? Is it people who voted for him that is against desegregation? Is it a fear of the wealthy in New York City that do not want their children, their white kids, because I assume most of these communities that have better schools is mostly white kids. They don't need no black and brown people in their schools mixing with their kids. They're scared. And even white people in black communities now that are being gentrified, they're not sending their kids to the local schools. Hell, I don't even send my kids to the local schools. They move out of where they live. Why? Because, hell, I want them to go to a good school, and obviously the issue of gun violence. So it's how parents think. I mean, they're very expensive to take care of. Do you just want them to die, because of these issues plaguing our communities by being a bad parent? But not all parents have the wherewithal, the intelligence, the ability, to get their kids into different schools. So people like Eric Adams, former NYPD, he should know. He should understand gun violence. He should understand the trials and tribulations of the black community, because he has lived in the black community. But why does he just ignore this issue? Why did Bill de Blasio ignore this issue? Why did Bloomberg ignore this issue. And for all the new candidates for mayor in 2025 or 2029, what is the priority of these idiots? Should their priority should be, hey, saving our kids, saving our children, by giving them a better education, by giving them the opportunity to have a real choice as to what school they go to, whether it's be for better education or whether it be for safety. My name is Brian Figueroa of the law firm Figueroa & Associates. This is Ask the Lawyer. 3 decades, not only of practicing law, but through community work. Whether it be through our nonprofit organizations, whether it be through our radio programming, working and interviewing different people on our radio shows, whether it be through our publications, Caribbean American Weekly, Workers' World Today, the Immigrants Journal, New Black Voices. Oh, we've heard all those voices out there. We have heard the voices of the elected officials and their promises. We have heard the voices of the victims. I myself personally have gone out to some of these communities that has gun violence and participated in forums in New York City talking about these issues. But I could say after 3 decades, I feel like little or nothing has been accomplished. Our kids are not safe in New York City. Our kids are not properly educated, whether from a point of resource or a point of a quality education. Working in some of these public schools, high schools, doing counseling, I saw how white teachers really didn't care a F about our kids, and they had written them off. Yeah, written them off. They will say things like, oh, well, Mr. Figueroa, you're wasting your time. They don't want to go to college. They don't want to get an education. And when you have teachers and counselors in the public school system in New York City with that attitude, hell, damn. The worst thing to be is an eyewitness. And obviously not having the ability to do anything. Why have a black caucus and they don't caucus on the correct issues? Why have a Latino caucus and they're not caucusing on these issues? Why have a women's caucus and they're not doing anything about these issues? Why elect people, period, and they're not doing anything? What we need in New York City, New York State, probably all of America, is real leadership. We have 2 presidential candidates, and one is dumb and the other is dumber. Yeah. And one, obviously, Trump. I call him KKK Russian Trump. And when you look at the people that support KKK Russian Trump, or even President Biden, you wonder why they associate themselves with such people. So we need the people to take power. And how can the people take power? That's the big issue. Because the people really need moral leadership. My name is Brian Figueroa of the law firm Figueroa & Associates. This is Ask the Lawyer. You got questions, we got answers. The number to call, the number to keep, the number to share is 855-768-8845. Again, 855-768-8845. If you have ideas how to resolve or how to soften the blows of gun violence or segregated schools, please give us a call. We would like to interview you for our radio shows, for our publications. And if you want to build a movement, I'd like to be part of it. Peace.
Do you have a legal issue, question, or concern? Turn to Ask the Lawyer. You have questions? We've got answers. For a consultation or to refer a client, visit www.askthelawyer.us. Again, www.askthelawyer.us. You can also register for our paralegal program, get legal news, business consults, or other information on educational issues. Yes, Ask the Lawyer. You have questions? We've got answers. For a consultation or to refer a client, visit www.askthelawyer.us. Again, www.askthelawyer.us.